Ever.
Let us
lower your chair.
Joe, let's start with you.
He's on a throne. Regal.
let's put the picks up on the screen in
He was
general.
like one of those Phil Jackson chairs.
There we go. That's
Perhaps not quite that much.
I may have overcalculated.
We did not shrink Joe just because he's the only one who's picking Indiana tonight. Why do you like the Pacers in Game 2?
Think about what we saw in Game 1 with the Knicks, right? Everyone focuses on the collapse.
It's very hard to take you seriously right now, Joe.
I'm not really taking myself all that
I'm going to need you to lift your chair up a little bit.
This is like Yao Ming and me at the draft class.
Go ahead.
The Knicks in Game 1, 51% from the floor. Third best shooting performance in 13 playoff games. 40 free throw attempts. Best performance in 13 playoff games. Brunson and Towns combined for over 70 points. You got all that, and you still lost the game. You still lost the game.
Is that a bad sign? They're going to get 78 points again or whatever it was?
It's like, how much more can you get from the Knicks in order to win the game? I think a lot of people have this idea where, well, the Pacers got what they came for, right? They won one on the road. We said the same thing in the Cleveland series, and they won Game 2 on the road as well. It's Eastern Conference Finals. No one's getting complacent.
I just feel like we're always waiting for the Knicks to be tired, and they don't play tired. I mean, with the exception of down the stretch, to me, this is like a character game. And I think Tibbs and Jalen Brunson are really good at responding in character-like games when they gave Game 1 away.
They're not fragile. The Knicks aren't fragile. They're flawed, but not fragile. To me, if they simply play, I don't know, 85% of what they did in Game 1, but you got to close. By the way, make some free throws. How about that?
Yeah. 12 missed foul shots in Game 1. With the win man not making picks, of course, but has his eye. What was the one thing you have your eye on tonight most keenly, Brian? What do you think is the single biggest factor in tonight's Game 2?
I would just like to once again update my stat that I've been updating for a month now. The Pacers are 43-16 since January 1st. This is a top seed, and they are also very good on the road. I will say this though, I do think the Knicks don't get dissuaded by the overall scoring. I do think the Knicks were able to control the pace for the bulk of this game. I know at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you do in quarters 2 and 3 and half of 4, but the Knicks were able to get what they wanted for a lot of this game. If they're able to build on that, I think that they could hold the Pacers down. So I like the Knicks to bounce back very strongly, but don't disregard how overall great the Pacers are. They are not a fluke.
Joe, I just need you to clarify. Are you taking the Pacers to cover, or
I was
are you taking them to win? Which one?
Which one?
All right. I'm going to do both. I would do both here. Take the 5.5 is obvious. That goes without saying when you're going to pick them to win. You talk about the money line plus 210. I like that price as well. I would not play the Knicks on the money line. I understand the reason for the bounce back tonight. I think the Knicks are better as the hunter than the hunted. This is not a good spot for them. The favorite with someone chasing them, that's not where they want to be. Indiana, to Wendy's point, the most undervalued team in the NBA. Since December 13th, they're the 4th best record in the NBA, and no one ever wants to really talk about it outside of the win man.
They got off to a quiet start this season because of injury. As he said, repeatedly, since January 1st, only OKC has a better record than Indiana does. All right, it's Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. It's a debate that is both everlasting and excruciatingly tiresome. However, every now and again, you're rolling me while I'm on the air, Brandon. It's an interesting decision. Michael Jordan's longtime agent, David Falk, added a new chapter to this conversation yesterday. Here's what he said.
I really like LeBron, but I think that if Jordan had cherry-picked what teams he wanted to be on that had 2 other superstars, he would have won 15 championships.
Oof. Okay, so for those in the room who couldn't hear what he was saying, that's David Falk, who was no longer Michael Jordan's agent, but was forever and will always be thought of that way, saying that he likes LeBron. Any conversation, any statement that starts with, look, I really like LeBron, this isn't
with
going,
all due respect,
not going somewhere good. It is the classic all due respect. He said if Jordan had cherry-picked where he wanted to go and had 2 other superstars, he would have won 15 championships. The only place to start for perspective. 12. 15's an exaggeration.
Yeah. This is who David Falk is. He's a provocateur on his best day. Okay, he's Michael Jordan's longtime agent. He is that. I'm a neighbor of David Falk and have known him for 45 years. Okay? I've had millions of basketball-related conversations with David Falk. No one should be surprised that David Falk is going out there with the MJ flag. Because if you think that, stop. Just get out of the sports talking about business and go to something else. Now, I hate the conversation because it requires you to say something negative about someone who's truly great and all-time great to make your point. And that's the most tiresome thing about the GOAT conversation. But let me just say this. I'm not going to sit here and say that LeBron James has to be considered better than Magic Johnson. That's garbage. I'm not going to say LeBron James has to be considered better than Bill Russell. That's garbage. I'm not going to say LeBron James has to be considered better than Kobe Bryant. That's garbage. LeBron James, one of the greatest players of all time in all team sports. I'm sorry, if that's not good enough, turn the page. Get over yourself. So in other words, I'm going to proclaim and support and wave the LeBron James flag for his greatness. But if I say he's less than number 2, that's not good enough for you, to hell with you. And I'm not saying that in support of David Falk. I'm saying that as somebody who has watched basketball and lived with basketball my whole life. I got to say that LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant? What? Put me in a grave first.
Well, that's it. You're allowed to have your perspective on it, and that's with your respectability and your credibility. That's fair. I'll tell you really quickly what I love about David Falk. So he was Coach K's agent. He was my first interview when I was coming out of college. You know what his presentation was, Mike? This is a presentation for Michael Jordan that we did.
Yeah.
And he sat back, and I was like,
It's
well,
quite a
damn.
resume, isn't it?
That's all you needed to say, right?
Yep.
But to me, I think this is a little bit of a two-pronged shot. I think it's a little bit, obviously, it's a dig at LeBron, but I also think it's a dig at Rich Paul. Right? I think it's a little bit of a dig at Rich Paul.
Yes.
It's like, hey, and this is how David is and how David operates. It's like, hey, you are the modern day version of who I was supposedly. You know, and LeBron James has way more ability to be flexible and what teams you go to. And I had to make things happen more so than just saying, this is what I want to do.
And again, provocateur. Anybody who thinks that David Falk is out there sort of walking the line of objectivity needs to get a clue.
Right.
He's not.
Right.
That's not who he is. That's not been his purpose.
Let me get windy in on all of this. I'm still sitting here with my mouth agape at the power of the statements. But Brian Windhorst, go.
Well, you asked if David Falk was right, Greeny. If Jordan could have changed teams, would he have won more? I think he is right. I think if he had left the Bulls and gone to the Magic when his first retirement happened and joined Shaq and Penny, he could have won more. I think in '98, if he had left and gone to the Knicks, he could have won more when the Bulls were exhausted. But let's also look at the full conversation and look at it how LeBron has to deal with it. What if Hakeem Olajuwon had left the Rockets and gone to play with John Stockton and Karl Malone, like Kevin Durant did at the time, to go with the Warriors? What if Scottie Pippen, after one title at age 25, because that's when the age with Kyrie Irving, asked for a trade from LeBron after one title, what if Scottie Pippen had asked for a trade? What would LeBron have done? So if you want to use both ends of the argument, let's have the argument. But the problem with Jordan and LeBron arguments is that nobody wants to have nuance. There's nuance because their situations are very different because their eras are different.
What you've identified as the perfect thing, and this is what I try and bring to the conversation.